News coming in from auto sector. India's largest car maker Maruti Suzuki is hiking prices for the second time this year. It had earlier increased car prices in January by 1.1%. The company cited it has been forced to hike prices as it continues to witness increased cost pressures driven by overall inflation and regulatory requirements. Already reeling under impact of chip shortage, the current development is further set to dampen customer sentiments. We have with us Shahshank Srivastava, who's the Senior Executive Officer, Marketing and Sales at Maruti Suzuki. Shahshank, the latest price hike is another blow for customers. How long is the cycle going to continue? Okay, we don't have Shahshank. I think we've lost him. I want to come to you at this point, Karthik. Price hike on top of waiting period. It appears that auto sector and especially car users are going to have to wait longer to buy their favorite vehicle.
Honestly, I love the confidence of car makers in the country because I think they live in such a wonderful scenario right now where there are enough and more people in India with excellent disposable incomes because car prices have been expensive for a while. Of course, the chip shortage, of course, being the most crucial right now, as much for delay, as much for the increase in prices. But apart from that, overall input cost has been high, and the ongoing supply chain crisis the world over has actually not helped the cause of car prices or the timeline to supply. But I think the car makers are in a great place where there are so many takers and so many people wanting to buy their cars, making advance bookings even before they've test driven a car, even before a car has actually been launched. That car makers, and Shahshank is here with us.
Shahshank is here.
That car makers, I feel, are in a happy place that people like us are willing to spend money. And yeah, I think increasing it by 1% or 2% every now and then is definitely not hurting them. Am I right, Shahshank?
No, you are absolutely wrong.
Oh my God.
Okay, if it's not to your benefit,
Because
what exactly do you contribute it to?
No, actually, when we get a little misled by the number of pending bookings, which is often quoted in the media, and those are pertaining to some specific models. And the pending is not necessarily because of very large demand, but because on the supply side for the last 1.5 years, in fact, from August 21 onwards, we have had this semiconductor supply situation, and that's what has led to the building up of these pending bookings. So a large number of these bookings will be multiple bookings across manufacturers, across dealers, and across models. So we really don't know what is the real demand. And as I see, we have seen the inflow of the new bookings is what is a much better demand parameter. And there I have seen some bit of softening starting from mid of February. And I think that's because of the higher inflation, which has led to the repo rates being increased, which have now started coming into the bank loan rates for auto. And as you know, 80% of the auto sales is through bank financing. So I think a couple of other red flags also coming up. Basically, the El Nino effect, which probably would affect the rural sentiment and also probably the agricultural income. And both these two factors probably can have the potential to have a lower demand patterns going forward.
I was going to ask you about the increasing interest rates, Shahshank. That is bound to hurt the auto industry, right? Because loans have become expensive. But have you seen any correlation between rising interest rates and demand, the order book that you are receiving on a month-on-month basis?
Not really, because I have seen the last few quarters, the demand was steady despite the increased interest rate. But then the interest rates have started coming into the auto loan, that is the pass-through has started happening only now. So we can't really be sure about that. And in any case, I think there has also been a pent-up demand, which we have observed for the last 2.5 years, thanks to COVID. We have seen, for example, this year you'll read there is the highest ever sales in the industry, 3.9 million probably by March end. But when you compare it with last year, of course, it's 26% up. But when you compare it with 2018-19, it's only about 14% up. So 14% growth in about 4 years, 4 or 5 years, is just around 3% CAGR, which isn't really as good as what you were saying that we were sitting pretty.
Okay. You talked about regulatory requirements putting cost pressure. Can you tell us what are you doing to navigate that area?
Yeah, so really we have to obviously conform to whatever is the regulatory requirement, and from April 1st we have the RD norms coming in along with OBD2 norms. Most of our vehicles we have already built in those spec changes to conform to the new norms, and that has led to that cost pressure which we have indicated in our stock exchange filing. Obviously, the other thing is the commodity prices, while they have moderated a little bit in the last 2 quarters, but if you compare it with what they were 2 years back, they are still quite, it's still quite high compared with what they were 2 years back. The entire price the price hike hasn't been taken care of all the commodity price increases, because we were very afraid during the COVID times about whether the demand should not be negatively impacted. As market leaders, we are very conscious about the demand in the industry, not coming down. We are like sort of responsible for the overall demand also in that sense. Therefore, the price hikes which have happened and which was referred to, there have been about 6-7 price hikes in the 1.5 years, is really not taking care of the entire commodity price increase, which have been immense when you compare it 2 years back. Steel, for
So has
example,
that
38 rupees a kg, is still around 65, 68.
So has that impacted your margins, or are the price hikes that we are seeing
Yes.
right now trying to offset the losses that, not the losses, but the reduced margins that you may be operating on
Yes,
earlier?
yes. So if you see the last couple of years, if you pursue peruse our balance sheet, the profitability has been less, purely on vehicle sale terms.
But in absolute terms, because you're saying there's still a growth, right? There has been a 3%, 4% CAGR, so on reduced margins but higher volumes. Do you feel that the mood of the economy is still good? The fact that whether it is post-pandemic pent-up demand or not, auto sales are always considered as the barometer to gauge the mood of the economy. And auto sales have been ebbing up only. I don't remember seeing any time, except for, of course, the peak of COVID that we were in. Apart from that, we've seen that that sales have been rising only. So overall, it reflects that the economy is in a good shape.
Also, if you could tell us how your order book is looking like right now.
Yeah, so you are right. Actually, the auto industry volumes very closely related to the overall economic growth, and that is what we have seen this year. 26% growth. That's pretty good. As I said, however, compared with the peaks that we saw in 18, 19, not so great. But yes, the sales have been increasing because it's a growing economy, and we have always seen, with the example of other nations which were in a similar situation earlier, like Mexico, Brazil, South Korea, and such countries. We have seen that if there is economic growth, yes, auto industry should do well. And that is what we are hoping for. And in any case, we are looking at a 5 to 7% growth for the industry next year, 4.05 million to 4.1 million from the current levels of 3.9 million that we expect the March to close.
And has the hybrid mindset really, do you see that kicking into the Indian consumer? Of course, diesel was something you discontinued some time ago, and petrol was the only option you had until you just recently introduced hybrid. So do you think the hybrid mindset in India is growing and we can see the country progressing towards cleaner fuel? Do numbers reflect that change in mindset?
Yes, absolutely. The hybrid has picked on well.
Are you driving
The
in a
grand,
hybrid right now? I see you're on the road, you're in a car. Are you in the Grand Vitara, the hybrid
Absolutely.
one?
Actually, yes, I am in the Grand Vitara,
That was a
in the
good guess.
in the hybrid, and I think you are right. It's the strong hybrid vehicle that I am using, and it's giving great fuel efficiency. I mean, I'm getting 25 plus kilometers to the liter, which is great, I would say. And that is one of the key things, that while we are looking at a conversion to electric vehicles in the long term, but in the intermediate period, we should and we do have to examine other technologies, including CNG, hybrid, biogas fuel, and those type of fuel as well, which are very clean, gives you great fuel efficiency, and helps the environment as well.
Okay.
I want to get a quick update on the chip shortage scenario. How is it looking like? 1 year since Russia-Ukraine conflict. Is it better now? Can you give us an update on the chip shortage scenario?
Yes, so chips situation actually, it was at its nadir in August 21, where we could produce only 40% of our planned production, went up to about current levels of 94, 95. But the shortage still persists. We lost about 46,000 vehicles in quarter 3. We lost some vehicles in Jan, Feb as well. March is going to be worse than Jan, Feb. But that chip shortage is now related to a few models. And it is those few models that we are not able to supply and that have seen longer waiting periods and the pending bookings.
Okay. And do you see the second-hand car market at some point denting your market share and denting your business?
Actually, no, because we do see that, in the new car buyers, about 25% of the new car buyers is upgradation, replacement buying. And that means that a increase in used car would also entail a increased replacement car buying. And that should help the overall industry definitely. So actually, it's not really hurting in any sense, except that at the lower end of the segment, probably the people might upgrade from a two-wheeler a little long after a longer period than what they were doing earlier. And we do see some pressure on the lower end of the spectrum as far as passenger vehicles is concerned.
What are your plans in the electric vehicle segment?
So electric vehicle segment, we have unveiled our first EV called the EVX very recently in the Auto Expo, and which should be in production in the financial year 24-25, which is not very far from now. We do expect that the EV penetration in our country will increase to around 17% by 2030. And 2024-25, I believe, is that inflection point where after 2 or 3% of the penetration, you see this penetration suddenly going up for EVs. That's the experience in most other markets in the world.
Okay, 24-25 is the expectation.
Yes.
I want to get you on your message for customers who are exasperated at this point, long waiting periods, high prices. Any message that you have to give to your customers?
First of all, we apologize for that waiting, and we are trying to, quickly put in place and hope that, and we are trying our best to increase our production in those models. There are other models which are available readily, but for those customers waiting for our other models where the waiting list is long, we do request for their understanding and assure them that we are making all efforts to bring their favorite cars as quickly as possible to them.
All right, Shashank, thanks very much for joining us with all those details. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.